My name is Emma Vance. I am 36 years old and I live in a quiet small town near the city. I sat there, clutching my fork until my knuckles turned white. The dining room was loud with laughter, but I only heard one voice. My brother Nathan. He wasn't looking at me though, he was looking right at my two children. Your mom, he said, pointing a fork at me, is the family failure. You kids better study hard or you'll end up just like her. Useless? The room went quiet. My daughter's lip trembled and then she burst into tears. My son just looked down at his plate, his face red with shame. He was ashamed of me. That was the moment something inside me finally snapped. For years I took it. I let them treat me like the invisible, broke single mom. I let Nathan play the golden boy CEO while I stayed in the shadows. He thinks I am weak. He thinks I have nothing. But Nathan has made a very big mistake. He forgot to check who actually signs his paychecks. He doesn't know that the anonymous investor who saved his company 3 years ago wasn't a stranger. It was me. I own 60% of his life's work, and he is about to find out exactly who the failure really is. But before I tell you how everything flipped, like and subscribe, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? My name is Emma Vance. I am 36 years old. The silence at the dinner table after Nathan's comment was heavy, but it was a silence I knew well. It was the same silence that had followed me my entire life. It was the sound of being the invisible child. The sound of being the lesser sibling. As I looked at my brother, arrogant and smiling with a piece of steak on his fork, I didn't just see a 40-year-old man. I saw the boy he used to be. And I saw the girl I used to be, the girl standing in his shadow. In our family, there were roles. These roles were assigned to us before we could even speak. Nathan was the star, I was the audience. Nathan was the golden boy, I was just Emma. It started when we were very young. I remember the day I came home with a perfect report card. I was 10 years old. I had worked so hard. I studied every night at the kitchen table while Nathan played video games in the living room. I walked through the door, holding the paper with the straight A's in my hand. My heart was beating fast. I wanted my father to smile. I wanted my mother to put it on the fridge. Look, I said, holding it up. I got all A's. My mother glanced at it while chopping vegetables. That's nice, Emma. Put it on the counter. Now go call your brother for dinner. He has a big soccer game tomorrow. We need to make sure he eats enough protein. That was it. That's nice. 10 minutes later, Nathan came in. He had a C on his math test. He threw it on the table and groaned. Math is stupid, he said. My father laughed. He ruffled Nathan's hair. Don't worry about it, son. You're a leader, not a calculator. You've got people skills. That's what matters. You're going to run the world one day. They spent the rest of the dinner talking about his soccer game. My report card sat on the counter, moving slightly in the breeze from the window until it eventually fell on the floor. No one picked it up but me. That was my childhood. If Nathan did something small, it was celebrated as a major victory. If I did something big, it was expected or worse, ignored. I learned to be quiet. I learned that my achievements didn't have volume. They didn't make noise. As we grew up, the gap got wider. Nathan was loud, charismatic, and reckless. He was always asking for money, and my parents always gave it to him. They called it investing in his potential. When I turned 16 and wanted a car, they told me to get a job. So I did. I got a job at a diner. I worked weekends. I saved every penny. When I bought my own used car, a small sedan with a dent in the door, my father looked at it and frowned. It's a bit ugly, Emma, but I guess it suits you. It's practical. A month later, they bought Nathan a brand new sports car for his graduation. He needs to look the part, my mother told me, sensing my hurt. He's going to business school. Appearances matter, Emma. You wouldn't understand. You're simple. Simple. That word stuck to me like glue. To them, I was simple because I was quiet. I was simple because I didn't brag. I was simple because I didn't demand their attention. I was a single mother who worked from home. They never asked what I actually did. They just assumed. Emma does some typing work, Nathan would tell his friends at parties. She's a glorified secretary. It's cute. It keeps her busy. He never asked. My parents never asked. For the last 10 years, I have attended every family gathering. I have cooked the turkeys for Thanksgiving while Nathan sat watching football. I have cleaned up the wrapping paper at Christmas while Nathan showed off his expensive gifts. I have listened to them praise him for his business empire. Nathan is a visionary, my father would say, raising a glass of wine. He built that company from nothing. I would sit there, sipping my water and say nothing. I would nod. I would smile. I would play the part of simple Emma. But while they were looking at the surface, I was building something underneath. They saw a quiet woman in a cheap sweater. They didn't see the mind working behind her eyes. I wasn't just doing typing work. I was analyzing markets. I was studying trends. I was trading. I was building. Growing up invisible gave me a superpower. I learned to observe. When you are the person no one looks at, you get to see everything. I saw how people wasted money. I saw how arrogance destroyed businesses. I saw how my brothers spent more time talking about working than actually working. I took the pain of their neglect, and I turned it into fuel. Every time my father ignored me, I put more money into my investment account. Every time my mother criticized my simple life, I researched a new stock. Every time Nathan called me a failure, I compounded my interest. I built a fortress of security around myself and my children. I didn't need their applause. I had my own scoreboard and the numbers were going up. But tonight was different. Tonight, Nathan didn't just ignore me. He didn't just dismiss me. He attacked my children. He tried to pass the legacy of failure down to them. He tried to make my daughter feel small, just like he made me feel small for 30 years. I looked at him across the table. He was laughing at his own joke, wiping grease from his chin. He looked so comfortable. He thought he was the king of this table. He thought he was the king of the world. He had no idea that the castle he lived in was built on my land. He had forgotten who I was. But that was okay, because I had never forgotten who he was. I was the invisible sister, the simple one, the failure. But in the business world, there is a term for people like me. I am the silent partner. And the silent partner is usually the one holding all the cards. To understand why I own my brother's company, you have to understand what happened 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Nathan was not the confident man sitting at the dinner table tonight. 3 years ago, he was a wreck. He was drowning. His company, Titan Logistics, was supposed to be the next big thing. My parents had mortgaged their house to give him the startup capital. They told everyone in town that Nathan was going to be a millionaire. Nathan bought the suits. He rented a fancy office downtown with glass walls and expensive furniture. He hired a team of assistants. He looked like a CEO, but he didn't know how to run a business. He spent too much money on marketing and parties and not enough on logistics. He ignored the boring parts of the business, the supply chain, the contracts, the margins. He just wanted to be famous. It all came crashing down in November. I remember because it was raining that week. I was at my parents' house for Sunday dinner. The mood was grim. My mother was crying in the kitchen. My father was pacing in the living room, looking older and grayer than I had ever seen him. Nathan was sitting on the sofa, his head in his hands. He looked small. "It's over," Nathan sobbed. "The bank is calling the loan. I can't make payroll. They're going to seize everything. I'm going to lose the office. I'm going to lose the cars. I'm going to go bankrupt." My mother rushed to him, hugging him. "Oh, my poor boy, it's not your fault. The market is just tough right now." "I need $5 million, Nathan said. "If I don't get $5 million by Friday, Titan Logistics is dead." My father shook his head. "We don't have it, son. We gave you everything we had." I sat in the corner chair, knitting a scarf for my daughter. No one looked at me. No one asked me for help. Why would they? I was just Emma. I drove a 10-year-old car. I lived in a small, modest house. I clipped coupons for groceries. In their minds, I probably didn't have $500, let alone $5 million. But I did. I had been investing since I was 18. I lived well below my means. I had made some very smart, very lucky moves in the tech sector early on. Then I moved into real estate. Then high-yield bonds. I didn't buy fancy clothes. I didn't go on vacations to Europe. I just let the money grow. I sat there and listened to Nathan cry. Part of me wanted to let him fail. Part of me wanted to watch him learn a lesson for the first time in his life. But then I looked at my parents. If Nathan went bankrupt, they would lose their house. They had co-signed his loans. They would be on the street. And despite everything, despite the neglect, despite the favoritism, they were my parents. I couldn't let them lose their home, so I made a decision. The next morning, I didn't call Nathan. I called a lawyer in the city. His name was Mr. Henderson. He was expensive and he was discreet. "I want to buy a controlling interest in a company called Titan Logistics," I told him. "But there is one condition, a strict condition. My name cannot appear anywhere. The buyer must be listed as an anonymous holding company. The current CEO, Nathan, must never know it's me." Mr. Henderson set it up. It was a structured bailout. I injected $8 million into the company. In exchange, I took 60% of the shares. I became the majority owner. Nathan was ecstatic when he got the news. He called the family, screaming with joy. An angel investor, he shouted over the phone. Some big private equity firm saw my potential. They know I'm a genius. They're giving me $8 million to keep running the show. He didn't learn a lesson. He didn't get humble. His ego just got bigger. He convinced himself that he had saved the company with his brilliance. He told everyone that the investors were lucky to have him. I signed the papers at my kitchen table while my kids were eating cereal. I signed my name, then I signed the confidentiality agreement. For 3 years, I have been his boss. Every quarter, I get the financial reports sent to my secure email. I see every expense. I see his salary, which I approved, though I kept it reasonable. I see the business dinners that cost $500. I see the consulting fees. I have been the invisible hand guiding the ship. I forced the company to hire a competent COO, David. I told David, through my lawyer, that he needed to actually run the operations because Nathan was incompetent. David is the only one who knows there is a silent majority shareholder, though even he doesn't know it's me. He just knows me as the LLC. I saved Nathan. I saved my parents' house. And in return, I got to listen to Nathan brag about it for 3 years. I built this company from the ashes, he would say at Christmas. I turned it around. I would sit there, chewing my turkey, thinking, no, you didn't. I wrote a check. It was a strange kind of power. It was a secret that kept me warm at night. I knew the truth. I knew that everything he had, his car, his suit, his title, was paid for by the sister he called Simple. I was willing to keep the secret forever. I didn't need the credit. I just wanted my family to be safe. I was willing to play the role of the failure if it meant peace. But tonight, the rules changed. Tonight, he looked at my son and daughter and told them I was worthless. He told them I was a warning of what not to be. He used my failure to hurt my children. He broke the silent agreement. He bit the hand that feeds him. I am done being the silent partner. I am done being the anonymous savior. He wants to talk about failures. Fine. We can talk about failures. We can talk about the man who bankrupted his company in 2 years. We can talk about the man who had to be bailout out by his little sister. The truth is a heavy weapon, and I have been carrying it for 3 years. It's time to put it on the table. The drive home from my parents' house was excruciating. It was a 30-minute drive, but it felt like it took a lifetime. Usually the car ride is a time for us to talk. My daughter Lily tells me about her friends. My son Leo talks about his video games. We listen to music. We sing. It is our safe space. But tonight the car was silent. The only sound was the hum of the tires on the pavement and the occasional sniffle from the back seat. I looked in the rearview mirror. Lily was staring out the window, tears still streaming down her face. She is 12 years old, that sensitive age where every word lands on your heart like a hammer. Leo, who is 8, was just kicking his legs against the seat, looking confused and angry. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. I was trying to keep my breathing steady. I couldn't let them see me fall apart. If I fell apart, Nathan won. Mom, Lily's voice was small. It cracked. Yes, honey, I said, trying to keep my voice light. Is it true? She asked. My heart stopped. Is what true? Are we represent failures? She couldn't even say the word properly. Uncle Nathan said you're a failure. He said if we don't be like him, we'll be nothing. He said we're poor. I pulled the car over. I couldn't drive. I pulled onto the shoulder of the highway and put the hazards on. I turned around in my seat to face them. Listen to me, I said. My voice was shaking, but I forced it to be firm. Look at me, both of you. They looked at me. Their eyes were red. Uncle Nathan was wrong. He was mean and he was wrong. Being kind does not make you a failure. Being quiet does not make you a failure. And we are not poor. We have a home. We have food. We have each other. We are happy. But he has a big company, Leo said. He's the boss. You just stay home. It felt like a knife in my chest. My own son, repeating the poison my brother had fed him. Leo, I said gently. Sometimes, people who make the most noise are the most empty inside. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they are strong, and just because someone is quiet doesn't mean they are weak. I hate him, Lily whispered. He made me feel like trash. I know, I said. I reached back and squeezed her hand. I know, baby. I'm sorry I let him speak to you that way. I promise you, it will never happen again. I turned back around and started the car. I drove the rest of the way in silence, but inside my mind was screaming, It will never happen again. That wasn't just a comfort to my daughter, it was a vow. When we got home, I went through the motions. I helped them get into their pajamas. I made them hot chocolate. I read Leo a story until he fell asleep. I sat with Lily until her breathing slowed and she drifted off. I kissed their foreheads. I looked at their sleeping faces. They looked so peaceful, but I knew the damage was done. They would remember tonight. They would remember the shame. I walked out of their rooms and went downstairs to my small home office. It was a converted closet off the kitchen. It wasn't a glass-walled office like Nathan's. It had a simple desk, a laptop, and a filing cabinet. I sat down. The house was quiet. The clock on the wall ticked. I was shaking, not from fear anymore, from rage. I thought about all the times I had let it slide. The insults at Christmas, the snide comments at Thanksgiving, the way he treated the waiters at restaurants, the way he rolled his eyes when I spoke. I had tolerated it because I thought I was keeping the peace. I thought I was being the bigger person. But being the bigger person hadn't protected my children. It just gave Nathan permission to hurt them. He had crossed the line. He had brought his toxicity to the next generation. I opened my laptop. I logged into my secure cloud drive. I opened the folder labeled Titan Logistics. There they were, the files, the shareholder agreements, the voting rights, the financial statements. I scrolled through them. I looked at the numbers. Majority shareholder, Helios Holdings LLC. Sole beneficiary, Emma Vance. I looked at the corporate governance clause. It was standard legal language, but tonight, it looked like a weapon. Section 4.2, the majority shareholder has the right to call an emergency board meeting at any time. Section 4.5, the majority shareholder has the right to remove executive officers for conduct detrimental to the company. Conduct detrimental to the company. I thought about Nathan's behavior, his arrogance, his dismissal of others. If he treated his family this way, how did he treat his employees? How did he treat his clients? I wasn't just a sister anymore. I was an owner. And as an owner, I had a responsibility to the company. And as a mother, I had a responsibility to my children. I couldn't separate the two anymore. Nathan wasn't just a bad brother. He was a liability. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen. The blue light reflected in my eyes. I remembered what my father said, "You're simple, Emma." I remembered what Nathan said, "You're the family failure." I took a deep breath. I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. It was the calm of a decision finally made. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to fight him with words at a dinner table where he would just shout over me. I was going to fight him in the language he claimed to speak but didn't understand. The language of power. I reached for my phone. It was late, almost 11 p.m., but I knew the person I needed to call would be awake. He was the one actually running the company while Nathan was sleeping. I dialed the number. The phone rang 3 times. "Hello," the voice was tired, rough. It was David, the chief operating officer of Titan Logistics. David was a good man. He was 50 years old, experienced, and tired of cleaning up Nathan's messes. We had never spoken directly on the phone before. He only knew me as a signature on legal documents, communicated through my lawyer. But tonight, I wasn't calling his office. I was calling his personal cell. And I wasn't using a lawyer. "David," I said, "this is Emma Vance." There was a long pause. "Emma," he asked, confused. "Nathan's sister, is everything okay? Did something happen to Nathan?" "No," I said, my voice was steady. It didn't sound like the voice I used at family dinners. It was lower, sharper. "Nathan is fine, physically at least." "Okay," David sounded wary. "Look, Emma, it's late. If this is a family matter, you should probably call." "This isn't a family matter, David. This is a business matter." "I don't understand," he said. "You know the majority shareholder of Titan Logistics?" I asked. "Helios Holdings LLC?" "Yes," David said slowly. "The silent investors, I deal with their legal team." "I am Helios Holdings," I said. Silence. Absolute silence on the other end of the line. I could hear him breathing. "I'm sorry," David said finally. "Did you say you?" "I own the 60% stake, David. I bought it 3 years ago during the liquidity crisis. I am the one who injected the $8 million. Me, not a bank, not a firm." "Me, my God," David whispered. "Does Nathan know?" "No," I said. "He doesn't, but he is going to find out tomorrow." I could hear the gears turning in David's head. He was a smart man. He was putting the pieces together. The anonymous emails, the strict financial controls, the refusal to let Nathan spend recklessly. Why are you telling me this now? David asked. Because I am calling an emergency shareholder meeting, I said. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. At the office. Emma, David said, his voice changing. He wasn't talking to a friend's sister anymore. He was talking to his boss. If you do this, if you reveal this, it's going to destroy him. His whole identity is wrapped up in being the owner. I know, I said. But tonight, he told my children that I was a failure. He humiliated them. He told them they were worthless because they were my kids. He thinks he is untouchable because he owns the company. I need to show him that he only stands there because I allow him to stand there. David sighed. It was a sigh of relief, not dread. Honestly, Emma, Nathan has been a nightmare lately. He's been missing meetings. He's been rude to clients. I've been trying to hold it together, but I'm close to quitting. If you're the owner, that changes everything. I want you to set up the boardroom, I instructed. I want the full executive team there, and I want Nathan there. Don't tell him why. Just tell him it's urgent. Understood, David said. Do you want me to prepare any documents? No, I have everything. I'll bring the original stock certificates. I'll bring the purchase agreement. I'll bring the bank transfer records. Okay, David said. 9 a.m. One more thing, David. Yes, I'm bringing my daughter, your daughter, to a board meeting. Yes, Nathan insulted her. He made her feel small. I want her to see the truth. I want her to see that her mother isn't a failure. I want her to see who really runs things. She won't say a word, she'll just watch. All right, David said. I'll see you tomorrow, Mrs. Vance. Miss Vance, I corrected him. See you tomorrow. I hung up the phone. My hands were no longer shaking. I felt cold but strong, like steel. I went to the filing cabinet and pulled out the thick red folder. I laid it on the desk. I ran my hand over the cover. This was it. This was the bomb I had been sitting on for 3 years. I went upstairs to check on the kids one last time. Lily was asleep, hugging her teddy bear. Her face was still blotchy from crying. I brushed a hair off her forehead. Tomorrow, I thought, you are going to learn a very different lesson about family. I didn't sleep much that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, rehearsing what I would say. I didn't want to scream. I wanted to be precise. I wanted to be surgical. Nathan had used words like bludgeons. He smashed things. He hurt people. I was going to use the truth. The truth is sharper. It cuts cleaner. The sun came up. It was a gray, cloudy Monday morning. Perfect weather for a storm. I woke the kids up. I made them breakfast. I told Leo he was going to school as usual, and I arranged for a neighbor to take him. But I told Lily to put on her nice dress. Why? She asked, rubbing her eyes. Am I going to the doctor? No, I said. I put on my best blazer. It wasn't expensive. I bought it at a discount store, but it was clean and sharp. I pulled my hair back into a tight bun. I applied a little bit of lipstick. I looked in the mirror. I didn't look like simple Emma today. I looked like a woman who had business to attend to. Where are we going? Lily asked. We are going to Uncle Nathan's office, I said. Lily's eyes went wide. She took a step back. No, Mom, please. I don't want to see him. He's mean. I don't want to go. I knelt down in front of her. I held her shoulders. Lily, listen to me. You don't have to talk to him. You don't even have to look at him if you don't want to. But you need to come with me. Why? She cried. Because yesterday he told you a lie about me, and today I'm going to show you the truth. You need to see that just because someone is loud, it doesn't mean they are in charge. She looked at me, searching my face for confidence. She found it, she nodded. Okay, Mom. We got into my old car with the dented door. We drove into the city. We parked in the visitor lot of the glass building where Nathan worked. I took my red folder. I took my daughter's hand. We walked into the lobby. The receptionist looked up, surprised to see a woman in a discount blazer and a child. Can I help you? She asked politely. I'm here for the 9 o'clock meeting, I said. Name, Emma Vance. The receptionist checked her list. She frowned. I don't see your name here, ma'am. This is a closed board meeting. Call David, I said. She hesitated, then picked up the phone. She whispered something. Her eyes widened. She put the phone down. I'm so sorry, Miss Vance. Go right up, top floor. The boardroom is at the end of the hall. I squeezed Lily's hand. Ready, ready, she whispered. The elevator ride was smooth and silent. As the numbers ticked up, 10, 15, 20, I felt the weight of the last 30 years lifting off my shoulders. The weight of being the little sister, the weight of being the failure. The doors opened. We walked down the hallway. I could hear Nathan's voice booming from inside the boardroom. He was shouting. I don't care what the projections say. I want it done. I am the CEO. I stopped at the door. I took a deep breath. I pushed the door open. The boardroom door was heavy. It was made of solid mahogany, polished until it shone. It looked like a barrier designed to keep people like me out. People like simple Emma. But I didn't hesitate. I pushed it open with a firm hand, holding the red folder in my other arm, and my daughter Lily's hand in mine. The room was freezing cold. That was the first thing I noticed. The air conditioning was blasting, making the air sharp and sterile. Around the long, oval table sat 6 men and 2 women. They were all wearing expensive suits. They had laptops open, coffees in front of them, and serious expressions on their faces. At the head of the table stood Nathan. He was in the middle of a sentence, his hand raised in the air as if he were conducting an orchestra. "We need to cut the vendor costs by 10%. I don't care if they complain, just tell them." He stopped. Every head in the room turned toward the door. The silence that fell over the room was instant and total. It was the kind of silence that happens when something impossible occurs. Nathan blinked, he looked at me, then he looked at Lily, then he looked at my blazer. A look of total confusion crossed his face, which quickly turned into annoyance. "Emma," he said. His voice wasn't welcoming. It was sharp. "What are you doing here?" I stepped fully into the room. I let the door close behind me with a soft click. The sound echoed in the quiet room. "Hello, Nathan," I said. My voice was calm. My heart was pounding against my ribs like a hammer, but I kept my face smooth. I had practiced this face in the mirror for 3 years. Nathan let out a short, harsh laugh. He looked around at the other executives as if to share a joke. "I'm sorry, everyone," he said, waving a hand at me dismissively. "This is my sister. She gets confused sometimes. She doesn't understand boundaries." He turned his glare back to me. "Emma, this is a board meeting, a business meeting. You can't just walk in here with a child. This isn't a daycare. And it certainly isn't a family reunion." Lily squeezed my hand so hard her fingernails dug into my skin. I could feel her shaking. She wanted to run. She wanted to hide. I squeezed back. "Stay strong," I told her silently. "I know what this is, Nathan," I said. I walked forward, approaching the foot of the table. The executives watched me. They were confused. They didn't know who I was, other than the CEO's sister. They probably thought I was crazy. "Then leave," Nathan snapped. His face was turning red. "Jesus, Emma, do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? I'm in the middle of a strategic review. Get out. Go wait in the lobby. Or better yet, go home. I'll call you later and we can discuss why you think it's appropriate to barge in here." He pointed at the door. "Out now." I didn't move. I stood my ground. I looked at David, who was sitting to Nathan's right. David looked pale. He was staring at his coffee cup, avoiding Nathan's eyes. "I'm not leaving, Nathan," I said, "and I'm not here as your sister." Nathan slammed his hand on the table. The coffee cups rattled. Lily flinched. "David," Nathan shouted. "Call security. Get her out of here. She's having some kind of breakdown." David didn't move to call security. He slowly stood up. He adjusted his tie. He looked tired. "David?" Nathan asked, his voice rising in panic. "What are you doing? I gave you an order." David looked at Nathan, then he looked at me. He nodded respectfully. "She's not leaving, Nathan," David said quietly. Nathan's mouth fell open. "Excuse me. Do you work for me or do you work for her? I am the CEO of this company. I am the owner." "Actually," David said, his voice steady in the silent room. "You're not." The air left the room. The other executives looked back and forth between Nathan and David. They looked terrified. This was a coup, and they were witnessing it live. "What are you talking about?" Nathan whispered. "Of course I'm the owner. I founded this. I built this." "You founded it," David agreed. "But you don't own the majority stake. Not anymore. You haven't owned it for 3 years." Nathan looked like he had been slapped. "The investors, Helios Holdings, they own the stake. They are silent partners. They trust me." I took a step forward. I placed the red folder on the sleek glass table. The sound of the heavy folder hitting the glass was like a gunshot. "Helios Holdings doesn't trust you, Nathan," I said. Nathan looked at me. His eyes were wide, wild. He was trying to process what was happening, but his arrogance wouldn't let him see the truth. "What do you know about Helios?" he sneered. "Did you read my mail? Did you snoop around my office? That's illegal, Emma. I can have you arrested." "Open the folder, Nathan," I said. He stared at it. He didn't want to touch it. He knew deep down that whatever was in that folder was going to destroy him. But he had no choice. He reached out with a shaking hand. He opened the cover. On top was the incorporation document for Helios Holdings LLC. He read it. His eyes scanned the page. Then they stopped at the bottom line. Sole member and manager, Emma Vance. He froze. He stood there for a long time just staring at the name. My name, the name of the failure. The name of the simple sister. He flipped the page. The next document was the purchase agreement from 3 years ago. The agreement that saved his company from bankruptcy. Buyer, Helios Holdings LLC, represented by Emma Vance. Amount, $8 million. He flipped the page again. A copy of the bank transfer, my personal investment account. He looked up. His face was gray. All the color was gone. He looked like a ghost. No, he whispered. This is a joke. This is fake. It's not fake, Nathan, I said. David can verify it. The lawyers can verify it. You can verify it yourself if you check the signatures you signed 3 years ago. You, he stammered. You don't have $8 million. You're your Emma. You drive a dented car. You clip coupons. You're a single mom. I am a single mom, I said, and I am a very good investor. While you were spending money on parties and sports cars to look rich, I was actually becoming rich. I built my wealth quietly. I didn't need the applause, I just needed the security. I walked around the table. The other executives pulled their chairs in, making way for me. They looked at me with a new expression. It wasn't confusion anymore. It was respect. Fear maybe, but definitely respect. I stood next to Nathan. He sank into his chair. He looked small. 3 years ago, you came to Mom and Dad crying, I said. I spoke clearly so everyone in the room could hear. You lost everything. You were going to lose their house. I stepped in. I bought the debt. I injected the capital. I saved you. Why didn't you tell me? Nathan asked. His voice was broken. Because I wanted you to succeed, I said. I thought if I gave you a second chance, you would learn. I thought you would become humble. I thought you would work hard. I looked down at Lily. She was watching me with wide, shining eyes. She wasn't scared anymore. She was amazed. But you didn't learn, I continued. You just became more arrogant. You took the credit for my money. You bragged about saving the company when it was my check that cleared the accounts. And I was fine with that. I was fine with being the silent partner. I leaned in closer to him. Until last night, I said. Until you looked at my children and called me a failure. Until you told my daughter she was destined to be nothing because she came from me. Nathan flinched. He remembered. You insulted the hand that feeds you, Nathan, I said coldly. You forgot who owns the chair you are sitting in. Emma, please, he whispered. Don't do this here. Not in front of them. You did it in front of my children, I replied. You didn't care about humiliating me, so why should I care about protecting your ego? I looked at David. David, please read the agenda for this emergency meeting. David picked up a piece of paper. His hands were steady. Item 1, David read. Restructuring of the executive leadership team. Item 2. Removal of the current CEO due to mismanagement and conduct detrimental to the company. Item 3. Appointment of new leadership. Nathan looked at David, betrayed. You knew. I found out last night, David said. And frankly, Nathan, it's time. Nathan looked back at me. There were tears in his eyes now, not tears of sadness, but tears of humiliation. The king was naked. Everyone saw him for what he was. He wasn't a genius. He wasn't a tycoon. He was a man who had been carried by his sister for 3 years. You can't fire me, he said weakly. It's my name on the building. It's Titan Logistics. And I own 60% of Titan Logistics, I said. Which means I own the name, too. I pointed to the door. The same door he had tried to kick me out of 5 minutes ago. I think you should take a walk, Nathan. We have work to do. The silence in the room after Nathan left was different. It wasn't the silence of shock anymore. It was the silence of anticipation. The air felt lighter. I didn't sit in Nathan's chair. That chair was a throne of ego. I didn't want it. Instead, I pulled up a spare chair and sat at the head of the table next to David. I pulled Lily's chair close to mine so she was right beside me. I apologize for the drama, I said to the room. I kept my voice professional. I prefer to do business quietly, but my brother made that impossible. The executives nodded. One of the women, the CFO, spoke up. Miss Vance, she said, we had no idea. We assumed Helios was an institutional fund. It was designed that way, I explained. I wanted the company to run without family interference, but I have been reviewing the quarterly reports for 3 years. I know the numbers. I opened my folder again. I took out a new stack of papers. I know that our operating margins are down 4% this quarter, I said. I know that we are spending $20,000 a month on client entertainment that isn't yielding new contracts. I know that the warehouse in Ohio is understaffed. leading to shipping delays. The heads around the table nodded. They were impressed. I wasn't just an angry sister, I knew the business. Here is the new plan, I announced. Effective immediately, David is the CEO. He has been running the operations anyway. Now he has the title and the authority. David nodded. Thank you, Emma, I accept. I am injecting another $8 million into the company today, I continued. This is not for parties. This is not for bonuses. This is to upgrade our fleet and fix the staffing issues in Ohio. We need to stabilize the foundation. A murmur of relief went through the room. They had been worried about cash flow for months. Nathan had been hiding the problems. I was solving them. What about Nathan? The CFO asked cautiously. Nathan remains on the board as a founder, I said. He will keep a salary, but it will be reduced. He is no longer authorized to sign checks. He is no longer authorized to make hiring decisions. If he wants to launch a new project, he has to pitch it to this table, and he has to get my approval. It was a demotion, a severe one, but it was fair. I wasn't leaving him destitute. I was just taking away his keys to the car he kept crashing. Suddenly, the door burst open again. It was Nathan. He hadn't left the building. He had been pacing in the hallway, stewing in his anger, and now he was back. He looked disheveled. His tie was crooked. You can't do this, he screamed. He pointed a finger at me. This is theft. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you for everything you have. The executives looked down at their laps, embarrassed for him. Sit down, Nathan, I said calmly. No, I built this company. You tricked me. You signed that agreement under false pretenses. I signed it to save you from prison, Nathan, I said sharply. Do you remember the tax liabilities? Do you remember the vendors you hadn't paid? If I hadn't stepped in, you wouldn't be worrying about a CEO title. You would be worrying about a bankruptcy hearing. I'll get a lawyer, he shouted. I'll tell Mom and Dad. They'll fix this. They won't let you steal my company. I stood up. I walked over to him. I was shorter than him, but in that moment I felt 10 feet tall. Go ahead, Nathan. Call Mom and Dad. Tell them everything. Tell them that for 3 years I paid your mortgage. Tell them that the only reason they still have their house is because I bought your bad debt. Tell them that every time you bragged at dinner, you were lying. He stopped. His mouth closed. You want to sue me? I asked. Go ahead. I have the best lawyers in the city. I have the documentation. I have the receipts. But if you sue me, I will cut off the funding. The company will collapse. Your salary will disappear. The family home will be foreclosed on. Is that what you want? He stared at me. He was breathing hard. He realized he had no leverage. None. I have funded your lifestyle for 3 years, Nathan. I let you play the big man because I loved you, but the game is over. He looked at the other executives. They weren't looking at him with admiration anymore. They were looking at him with pity. David is in charge now, I said. If you want to be part of this company, you will sit down, shut up, and listen. If you disrupt this meeting again, I will have your security badge deactivated, and you will be escorted out by the police. Do you understand? It was the first time in our lives that I had given him an order. He looked at me, searching for the weak, quiet sister he used to bully. She wasn't there. He swallowed hard. He looked at the empty chair at the far end of the table, the lowest spot. He walked over to it and sat down. He slumped in the chair and stared at the table. Good, I said. I returned to the head of the table. I looked at Lily. She was beaming. She looked at me like I was a superhero. Now, I said to the room, let's get back to work. Item 4, the Ohio warehouse. The meeting lasted for 2 hours. For the first time in years, the meeting was productive. David was brilliant. The team was energized. They had real capital and real leadership. Nathan sat silently at the end of the table, not saying a word. When the meeting ended, I stood up. David, you have the helm, I said. I'll be in touch next week. Thank you, Emma, David said. He shook my hand firmly. Truly, thank you. I took Lily's hand and walked out. We walked past Nathan. He didn't look up. We got into the elevator. As the doors closed, Lily looked up at me. Mom, yes, sweetie. You own the whole building. Most of it, I smiled. That was awesome, she whispered. You were like a queen. No, I said, kissing the top of her head. I'm just your mom, but sometimes moms have to roar. The drive home was very different from the morning drive. The sun had come out. The gray clouds were breaking apart. We stopped for ice cream on the way home, double scoops for both of us. But I knew the hardest part wasn't over. The boardroom was business. Now I had to deal with the family. By the time we got home, my phone was blowing up. 7 missed calls from my mother, 3 from my father. Nathan had clearly made the call the second I left the building. I didn't answer right away. I made lunch for the kids. I let Leo play in the yard. I wanted to be in my own space, on my own ground, when I had this conversation. Finally, at 2 p.m., I called my mother back. "Emma," she screamed into the phone before I could even say hello. "What have you done?" "Nathan is hysterical. He says you stole his company. He says you humiliated him in front of his staff." "I didn't steal anything, Mom," I said calmly. I sat on my back porch watching the kids play. "I bought it. 3 years ago, when he crashed it." "What are you talking about?" My father's voice chimed in. He was on the other line. "You don't have that kind of money, Emma. Don't lie to us." "I do have that kind of money, Dad. I've been investing for 15 years. I have a portfolio worth millions. And I used 8 million of it to bail Nathan out so you wouldn't lose your house." There was a long silence on the line. You saved the house?" my mother asked, her voice trembling. "Yes. Nathan needed 5 million. I gave him 8. I did it anonymously because I didn't want to embarrass him. I wanted him to have a chance to fix things. But he said he found an investor," my father said. "He said he did it." "He lied," I said simply. "Just like he lied when he said I was a failure. Just like he lies about everything." I could hear my mother sniffling. "But why didn't you tell us? Why did you let us think you were just simple?" I finished the sentence for her. "Because it was easier, Mom. You guys always preferred Nathan's success. You wanted the golden boy. I gave you the golden boy. I paid for the golden boy." "Oh, Emma," my mother sobbed. "We didn't know." "You didn't ask," I said. The words were not angry, just true. "You never asked me what I did. You never asked about my life. You just assumed." "We are so sorry," my father said. His voice sounded old and fragile. We underestimated you. Severely. "I don't want your apology for being underestimated," I said. "I'm used to that. But I do want you to know that I will not allow Nathan to treat me or my children like dirt anymore. The dynamic has changed. I am not the little sister in the corner. I am the one keeping this family afloat. And if Nathan can't respect that, he can't be part of the business." He's devastated," my mother said. "He's locked himself in his room." "Good," I said. "Let him sit there. Let him think about what he said to Lily. Let him think about the fact that the failure is the one signing his paycheck." I hung up. I felt a weight lift off my chest that I hadn't realized was there. I had finally said it. The news traveled fast. In a small town, gossip moves faster than light. Within a week, everyone knew. I don't know who leaked it. Maybe a secretary at the office, maybe David, maybe just the inevitable flow of truth, but the story changed. People stopped looking at me with pity at the grocery store. They looked at me with curiosity. "Is it true?" a neighbor asked me in the produce aisle. "Do you own Titan Logistics?" "I have a controlling interest," I said with a polite smile, picking out apples. The biggest change, though, was with my daughter. Before, Lily had been shy about my job. When kids at school asked what her mom did, she would mumble, "She works from home." 2 days after the meeting, I went to pick her up from school. She was standing with a group of girls. They were the popular girls, the ones who usually ignored her. I saw Lily pointing at my car. It was still the old sedan with the dent. "That's my mom," I heard her say loud and clear. "She's an investor. She owns a huge company. She's the boss of the boss." "But she drives an old car," one of the girls said. Lily crossed her arms. She looked just like me in the boardroom. "That's because she's smart with money," Lily said. "Rich people don't need to show off. Only fake people show off." I smiled behind the steering wheel. She had learned the lesson. She wasn't ashamed anymore. She was proud. She understood the difference between value and volume. Nathan, on the other hand, disappeared. He didn't come to Sunday dinner that week. My parents told me he was taking some time. He avoided the office. He avoided his friends. The narrative had flipped so completely that he didn't know how to exist in the new world. He was no longer the hero of the story. I was. And the strange thing was, I didn't do it for the fame. I didn't do it to be the hero. I did it to protect my kids. But in doing so, I had rewritten the history of our family. My parents started treating me differently. When I went over to check on them, my father asked me about the stock market. He asked for my advice on his retirement fund. My mother asked me about my day, and she actually listened to the answer. It was bittersweet. I was glad to be respected, but part of me was sad that it took $8 million and a boardroom coup to get their attention. But I accepted it. We can't change the past. We can only manage the portfolio of the future. And for the first time in my life, I was the one managing it. It took 3 weeks for Nathan to call me. I was sitting in my home office, which I was planning to expand soon, analyzing a potential investment in a green energy startup. My phone buzzed. Nathan, I stared at the screen. I could have let it go to voicemail. I could have made him wait. But I wasn't interested in petty revenge. I was interested in closure, I answered. Hello, Nathan. Hi, Emma. His voice was quiet. Gone was the booming, confident tone. He sounded like he had a cold or like he had been crying. Can we meet? Not at the office. Not at Mom and Dad's, just coffee. Sure, I said. Meet me at the diner on Main Street in an hour. I chose the diner on purpose. It was where I used to work when I was a teenager. It was the place where I started saving my money, dollar by dollar, while he was out spending his allowance. It was my ground. I arrived first. I ordered a black coffee. I sat in a booth near the back. When Nathan walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing jeans and a sweater. He looked unshaven. He looked 10 years older than he had 3 weeks ago. He saw me and walked over, his head down. He slid into the booth opposite me. He didn't order anything. He just clasped his hands on the table. You were right, he said. He didn't even say hello. He just jumped straight into it. About what? I asked. About everything, he sighed. I looked at the books. David showed me the history. You really did save us. 3 years ago, I was drowning. I was so panicked. When the money came in, I was so relieved that I convinced myself I earned it. I convinced myself I was a genius. He looked up at me. His eyes were red-rimmed. I lived a lie for 3 years, Emma. And the worst part is, I started believing the lie. I started believing I was better than you. You were never better than me, Nathan, I said gently. You were just louder. I know, he said. I know that now. He took a deep breath. This was the hard part for him. I am so sorry, he said, his voice cracked. I am sorry for what I said at dinner. I am sorry for calling you a failure. I am sorry for hurting Lily and Leo. That was unforgivable. I was insecure and I took it out on them. I watched him. I looked for any sign of the old Nathan, the arrogance, the deflection, but I didn't see it. I saw a man who had been stripped of his armor. It wasn't just that night, Nathan, I said. It was our whole lives. You treated me like I was invisible. You let Mom and Dad treat me like I was second class. You took everything they gave you and you never once asked if I needed help. I was selfish, he admitted. I was a selfish, spoiled brat, and I'm 40 years old and I'm still acting like one. Yes, you are, I said. He flinched, but he nodded. I want to make it right, Emma. I don't care about the CEO title anymore. David is doing a better job than I ever did. I want my sister back. I want to be an uncle to those kids. I took a sip of my coffee. The liquid was hot and bitter. You can't just say sorry and fix this, Nathan, I said. Trust is like a bank account. You overdrew yours a long time ago. You're in the red. It takes time to build that balance back up. I'll do whatever it takes, he said. Okay, I said. I pulled a piece of paper out of my purse. I had prepared a list. Here are my conditions. He took the paper. He looked terrified. First, I said, you go to therapy, real therapy, not a life coach. You need to understand why you need to put others down to feel good about yourself. He nodded. Okay. Second, I continued. You apologize to Lily and Leo, to their faces, and you tell them exactly why you were wrong. You tell them that their mother is successful and that you were jealous. He swallowed hard. That was going to hurt his pride. I will. Third, I said, you stay at the company but you work. No more 2-hour lunches. No more leaving at 3 p.m. You work under David. You learn the operations. You learn how the business actually works. You earn your paycheck. He looked at the list. He looked at me. Is that it? He asked. For now, I said. If you do those things, we can start having Sunday dinners again. But if you ever disrespect me or my children again, you're out. Out of the company, out of the family, out of my life. Permanently. He looked me in the eye. For the first time in years, I saw my brother, not the fake CEO. Just my brother. Thank you, Emma, he whispered. You're a lot tougher than I thought. I had to be, I said. I had to survive you. He reached across the table. He hesitated, then put his hand out. I looked at it. I didn't shake it immediately. I let it hang there for a moment. Then I reached out and took his hand. His grip was firm but humble. Get to work, Nathan, I said. I will, he said. And for the first time I believed him. 6 months have passed since that day in the boardroom. Life is different now. It is quieter in some ways and louder in others. Titan Logistics is thriving. Under David's leadership and my guidance, The company has posted its best quarter in history. We expanded the Ohio warehouse and upgraded the fleet. The stock value, my private valuation, has gone up significantly. My portfolio is now worth over $16 million, but I still drive the sedan with the dent. It runs fine, so why replace it? Nathan stuck to the deal. He goes to therapy twice a week. He told me it's hard. He told me he cries a lot. I told him that's good. Tears are just the soul cleaning house. He works at the office every day. He sits in a smaller office now, down the hall from David. He handles client relations, the actual work, not just the dinners. David tells me Nathan is actually pretty good at it when he isn't trying to be the king. He's learning to be a part of the team. The best change, though, is at home. It is Sunday afternoon. The smell of roast chicken is filling the kitchen. My parents are sitting in the living room playing a board game with Leo. They laugh. My father isn't talking about business. He's talking about Leo's soccer game. Nathan is in the kitchen with me. He is peeling potatoes. Do you want me to cut them in quarters or halves? He asks. Quarters, I say. They cook faster. Got it, he says. He focuses on the potato. He is helpful. He is present. Lily walks in. She is holding her tablet. Mom, she says, I was looking at that savings app you showed me. If I put half my allowance in every week with 5% interest, how much will I have when I'm 18? I wipe my hands on a towel and walk over to her. Nathan stops peeling and watches us. He smiles. It's a genuine smile. He isn't jealous that she's asking me. He's proud. Let's calculate it, I say to Lily. It's called compound interest. Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world. We sit at the table and run the numbers. Lily's eyes light up when she sees the total. Whoa, she says, that's free money. It's not free, I correct her. It's money that works for you. Just like you work for your grades, your money should work for your future. I look around the room. My son is laughing with his grandparents. My brother is helping with dinner. My daughter is learning how to build her own independence. I feel a deep, warm sense of peace. I used to think that being a victim was my destiny. I thought I was stuck in the role of the invisible sister, but I realized that you can't wait for people to give you respect. You can't wait for them to see your value. Sometimes, you have to build your value in the dark. You have to lay the bricks one by one when no one is watching. You have to save and study and plan. And when the time is right, you don't ask for permission. You just turn on the lights. I walk over to the window and look out at the backyard. The sun is setting, casting long shadows across the grass. I am not the family failure. I am the family anchor. I am the one who held it all together when it was falling apart, and my children know it. That is the only victory that matters. To everyone watching or reading this, being underestimated is a gift. It makes you invisible, and invisibility is a superpower. It lets you work without distraction. It lets you build without interference. Don't let their insults stop you. Let their insults fuel you. Every time they tell you that you are nothing, put another dollar in the bank. Put another hour into your dream. Let them write you off. Let them think you are simple. Because the best revenge isn't screaming. It isn't fighting. The best revenge is success. Build quietly, rise loudly, and never ever let anyone tell your children who you are. You show them.